The ambulance bay doors exploded open at 2:47 a.m. Rain hammered the pavement. On the gurney lay Captain Michael Torres, police badge still pinned to his blood-soaked uniform. "Gunshot wounds, chest and abdomen," the paramedic shouted. "Lost pulse twice in transit." Dr. Richard Martinez, the trauma chief, took one look at the monitor and shook his head. "BP's crashing. He's got maybe 2 minutes." The surgical team moved fast, but not fast enough. The flatline scream filled the room. Time of death, 2:51. But at the back of the trauma bay, one nurse didn't move. Nurse Maya Chen stood perfectly still, her eyes locked on the captain's chest. Her voice cut through the silence, quiet but certain. "Not yet." The surgeon spun toward her. "Nurse, it's too late." "There's nothing." She stepped forward. "With respect, doctor, I've seen this before. If you believe some heroes wear scrubs instead of medals, comment, never give up, and subscribe, because what you're about to hear will stay with you forever." The rain had started just after midnight. By 2 a.m., it was a downpour that turned the streets of downtown into black mirrors reflecting neon signs and emergency lights. Inside Mercy General Hospital's emergency department, the night shift moved through its usual rhythm. Chart updates, medication rounds, the occasional drunk driver or heart attack victim. Nurse Maya Chen stood at the nurse's station, reviewing lab results on a computer screen. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, not a strand out of place. Her scrubs were navy blue, pressed and clean. She'd been a nurse at Mercy General for 3 years, and in that time she'd earned a reputation for being competent, professional, and remarkably calm under pressure. What no one knew was why. The radio on the desk crackled to life. "Mercy General, this is Unit 47. We've got a critical inbound. Police captain, 43 years old, multiple gunshot wounds to the chest and abdomen, lost pulse twice in transit, regained with CPR and defibrillation, but vitals are unstable. ETA 2 minutes. The charge nurse, Linda, looked up sharply. "Police captain?" "That's what they said." Maya's hands paused on the keyboard. Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Trauma 1, now." Dr. Richard Martinez was already moving. "I want blood on standby. O negative, 6 units. Page surgery. Someone call the chief. We've got an officer down." The ER erupted into controlled chaos. Nurses prepped the trauma bay. Residents grabbed gowns and gloves. The attending anesthesiologist hurried in from the break room, still tying his mask. Maya moved with them, her face a mask of professional composure. But inside, something old and familiar stirred. A muscle memory that had nothing to do with civilian nursing. The ambulance bay doors exploded open at 2:47 a.m. Rain hammered the pavement outside. On the gurney lay Captain Michael Torres. His uniform was torn and soaked, blood, rain, or both. His police badge, number 4187, was still pinned to his chest, catching the overhead lights. His face was pale, lips tinged blue. "Gunshot wounds, chest and abdomen," the paramedic shouted as they pushed through. "Lost pulse twice in transit." First shock at 2:32, second at 2:41. Got him back both times, but he's circling. Dr. Martinez was already at the head of the gurney. "Get him on the table." Now. They transferred Torres with practiced efficiency. Scissors cut away what remained of his uniform. 2 entry wounds were visible, one just below the left clavicle, another in the upper right abdomen. "BP's 60/40 and dropping," a resident called out. "He's in hemorrhagic shock," Martinez said. "Get 2 large-bore IVS in him. Push fluids wide open." Maya moved to the bedside, her hands already checking the IV lines, adjusting monitors. She glanced at Torres's face. Mid-40s, strong jaw, wedding ring on his left hand. The kind of face that had seen too much and still showed up every day. "Chest tube, left side," Martinez ordered. He's got a hemothorax. The resident fumbled with the tray. Now, Martinez snapped. Maya's hands were already there, passing instruments before they were asked for. The tube went in. Dark blood drained into the collection chamber. That's a lot of blood, someone whispered. Too much, Martinez muttered. He's bleeding out faster than we can replace it. The monitor alarm shrieked. Torres's blood pressure dropped to 50/30. He's crashing, the anesthesiologist said. I'm losing him. Push more epi, Martinez ordered. Get me another unit of blood. Maya watched the monitor, watched the numbers fall. She'd seen this before, too many times. Different uniforms, different wars, but the same desperate fight against time and blood loss. Fif! Fib! Someone shouted. Martinez grabbed the defibrillator paddles. Charge to 200. Clear. Torres's body jerked. The line on the monitor danced erratically, then flattened. Again, 300. Clear. Another jolt, another flat line. Resume compressions, Martinez said, but his voice had changed. The edge of command was dulling into resignation. A resident started chest compressions. 30 pumps, 2 breaths, 30 more. 1 minute passed, then 2. Martinez checked the monitor again. Hold compressions. They stopped. Everyone watched the screen. Flatline. The high-pitched tone filled the trauma bay like a funeral dirge. Martinez pulled off his gloves. His shoulders sagged. Time of death 2:51. The room went still. Someone turned off the alarms. The sudden silence was almost worse than the noise. A nurse began disconnecting the monitors. A resident stepped back, pulling off his gown. Life moved on, the way it always does in emergency rooms. There would be paperwork, notifications, another body to process. But at the back of the trauma bay, one nurse didn't move. Maya Chen stood perfectly still, her eyes locked on the captain's chest, on the badge still pinned to the bloody remnants of his uniform, on the wedding ring that would soon be returned to a widow. Her mind wasn't in the ER anymore. It was in a forward operating base in Kandahar, in a tent that shook with mortar fire, kneeling over a soldier whose heart had stopped after an IED blast tore through his convoy. She remembered her commanding officer's voice. He's gone, Chen. We did everything we could. And she remembered her own voice. Not yet. Doctor, she said now quietly. Martinez turned, surprised she was still there. Nurse Chen, it's over. I need you to help prepare. Not yet. Her voice was calm. Certain. Martinez frowned. Excuse me? Maya stepped forward. With respect, Doctor, I've seen this before. Seen what before? He's been down for 4 minutes. Even if we got him back, the brain damage... He's not down. She moved to the bedside. He's in traumatic cardiac arrest. The physiology is different. Martinez stared at her. Nurse, I appreciate your dedication, but... He's hypovolemic, Maya continued, her voice steady but commanding in a way no one in that room had ever heard from her before. Massive blood loss from the chest wound. His heart stopped because there's not enough volume to pump. Standard ACLS won't work. We already tried. You tried civilian protocols. She looked up, and for the first time, Martinez saw something in her eyes that didn't belong in a civilian hospital. Something hard, experienced. I'm talking about military resuscitation protocols. Damage control, resuscitation. The room had gone completely silent. Everyone was staring at her. Martinez's voice was careful. How do you know about military protocols? Maya didn't answer. She was already moving. I need another 4 units of blood. Activate the massive transfusion protocol and get me a thoracotomy tray. A thoracotomy? Martinez's eyes widened. You want to crack his chest? Here. If we don't, he dies. She met his gaze. If we do, He has a chance. You're a nurse. You can't. I was a combat medic. The words came out flat. Final. 75th Ranger Regiment. 3 deployments. I've performed this procedure 17 times under fire with less equipment than we have right here. The trauma bay was so quiet, you could hear the rain hammering the windows outside. Martinez stared at her. You were Army? I was a lot of things. She looked back at Torres. Right now, I'm the person who can save him. Are you going to let me try, or are you going to let a cop die because of hospital protocol? For a long moment, no one moved. Then Martinez nodded sharply. Do it. But this is on me. If anyone asks, I gave the order. Understood. Maya's hands were already moving. I need retractors, a rib spreader, and internal paddles if you have them. A nurse scrambled for the thoracotomy tray. Maya pulled on fresh gloves. She looked down at Captain Torres, at his still chest, his pale face, his wedding ring. I've got you, she whispered. Just hang on. She made the incision, clean, precise, through skin, muscle, between the ribs. Her hands moved with a confidence that came from doing this in the worst possible conditions. Blood welled up. She didn't hesitate. Rib spreader. It was placed in her hands. She opened the chest cavity. Jesus, someone breathed. Torres's heart lay exposed, pale and still. The left ventricle had a small tear, the bullet's path. That's why he bled out, Maya said. The wound went through the ventricle. Every heartbeat was pumping blood into his chest cavity instead of his body. Can you repair it? Martinez asked, his skepticism replaced by something like awe. Not here. But I can stop the bleeding long enough to get him to an OR. She pressed her gloved finger directly over the tear. I need 4-0-proline suture and keep pushing blood. His volume's still too low. The room erupted back into motion. Nurses moved with renewed purpose. Blood products flowed through IVS. Maya's hands worked inside the captain's chest with surgical precision. Suture! It was placed in her hand. She stitched. Fast. Exact. The kind of repair you do when there's no time for perfection, only survival. That should hold for transport. She looked up. Now, we need to restart the heart. Internal paddles. The defibrillator was handed to her. She placed the paddles directly on the heart muscle. Charge to 20 joules internal. Everyone clear. She pressed the triggers. Torres's heart muscle twitched. Again, 30 joules. Another shock. This time the heart shuddered, contracted weakly. Once, twice. Then it found a rhythm. We've got a pulse, the anesthesiologist shouted. The monitor beeped, faint, irregular, but there. Beep, beep, beep. The trauma bay exploded in stunned exclamations. Oh my God. She did it. He's back. Martinez stared at Maya, his face pale. How did you... He needs surgery now, Maya said, already packing the chest with gauze. The repair won't hold long. He needs a cardiothoracic surgeon and a real OR. I'll call them. Martinez grabbed the phone, his hands shaking slightly. Maya stepped back, her gloves soaked in blood, her scrubs splattered. She watched the monitor, watched the fragile rhythm of Torres's heartbeat. Alive. For a moment, she closed her eyes, breathed, let the adrenaline drain away. Nurse Chen. She opened her eyes. Martinez was standing beside her. That was... He struggled for words. I've been a trauma surgeon for 20 years. I've never seen anything like that. You've never worked in a war zone, she said quietly. Who are you really? Maya looked at him, at the team still working to stabilize Torres, at the captain who was alive because she'd refused to accept death. Someone who doesn't give up, she said, even when everyone else has. 2 hours later, Captain Michael Torres was in surgery. The cardiothoracic team was repairing the damage to his heart. The prognosis was cautiously optimistic. Maya sat alone in the staff locker room, staring at her hands. They were clean now, scrubbed, but she could still feel the weight of a man's heart between her fingers. The door opened. Dr. Martinez walked in. "He's stable," Martinez said. "The surgeons say if you hadn't done what you did, he'd be dead." The delay would have been too long. Maya nodded but didn't speak. Martinez sat down across from her. "I looked you up. Maya Chen, RN, BSN, hired 3 years ago. Excellent performance reviews, no mention of military service. I didn't lie on my application." "No, but you didn't mention it either." She looked up. "Would you have hired me if I had?" "Probably, yes. The question is why you didn't want us to know." Maya was quiet for a long moment. "Because I left that life behind. I didn't want to be the combat medic anymore. I wanted to be a nurse, save lives without the war attached to it. But tonight I couldn't walk away." Her voice was soft. "He was a cop. Someone who puts on a uniform to protect people. I know what that means. I know what it costs." Martinez studied her face. How many what? How many soldiers did you bring back?" "You said 17 thoracotomies. How many survived?" 12. The number came automatically. 12 made it home. 5 didn't. "That's a hell of a success rate for battlefield medicine." "It's not enough." Her voice cracked slightly. "It's never enough." They sat in silence. Finally, Martinez spoke. "The hospital administrator is going to want to talk to you. There will be questions. Possibly an investigation into the breach of protocol." "I know. And when they ask me what happened, I'm going to tell them the truth. That you saved a man's life using skills and training that the rest of us don't have. That you acted when I had given up." He stood. "You're not in trouble, Maya. You're a hero." She shook her head. "I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who remembered what I was trained to do." "Then maybe it's time to stop hiding that training." He left. Maya sat alone, the weight of the night settling on her shoulders. She thought about Torres, about the soldiers she'd saved, about the ones she hadn't. Her phone buzzed. A text from Linda, the charge nurse. "Captain Torres's wife just arrived. She's asking to meet the nurse who saved her husband." Maya stared at the message, took a breath, stood up. Some things you couldn't walk away from. Some debts could only be paid forward. 1 week later, Captain Michael Torres sat up in his hospital bed. His chest was bandaged, tubes and wires still trailing from his body, but his colour had returned. His eyes were clear. Maya stood in the doorway, hesitant. "Come in," Torres said. His voice was rough but strong. She stepped inside. "How are you feeling, Captain?" "Like I got shot twice and someone cracked my chest open." He smiled faintly. "But alive. Thanks to you. The surgeons did the hard part." "That's not what Dr. Martinez told me." Torres gestured to the chair beside the bed. "Sit. Please." She sat. Torres studied her face. "Yes, sir." "Rangers? 75th?" He nodded slowly. "I was Marines. 2 tours in Fallujah. I know what you saw over there, what you had to do." Maya didn't respond. "My wife," Torres's voice caught. "She said you saved me when everyone else had given up, that you did something most doctors couldn't do. I had training they didn't, and you used it, even though you'd left that life behind." He looked at her. "Why?" Maya was quiet for a moment. "Because I took an oath once, to never leave a fallen comrade, and that oath didn't come with an expiration date." Torres's eyes glistened. "Neither did mine. That's why I became a cop, because I couldn't stop serving. I understand." "No." He shook his head. You do more than understand. You're still serving, just with different tools. She smiled faintly. Maybe. Not maybe. Torres reached out, offered his hand. Thank you, Maya, for not giving up, for remembering who you are. She took his hand, squeezed once. You're welcome, Captain. When she left the room, Martinez was waiting in the hall. The hospital board met this morning, he said. Maya's stomach tightened. And they want to create a new position. Trauma, critical care specialist, someone who can bridge the gap between emergency medicine and combat casualty care. He smiled. They want you to lead it. She stared at him. What? Turns out, saving a police captain's life gets attention. The mayor's office called. The police union called. Even the damn governor's office called. Martinez chuckled. You're kind of famous now. I don't want to be famous. Then, just be excellent. Teach others what you know. Save more lives. He put a hand on her shoulder. You tried to leave the war behind, Maya. But maybe the war gave you something worth keeping. Something the rest of us need. She looked down the hospital corridor, at the nurses moving between rooms, at the patients fighting to live, at the families waiting for news. Maybe he was right. Maybe some battles were worth bringing home. If you believe some scars make us stronger, and some skills are meant to be shared, subscribe and comment, never give up below. Because courage doesn't retire. It just finds new battles to fight.